Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Kevin Boudreau. I'm out in Las Vegas right now playing the World Series of Poker, as many of you know that are already subscribed to me. If you're not subscribed, make sure to hit that button, subscribe, catch all my future videos, talk a lot about poker, anything self-help, just trying to share any ideas that I have, and create a conversation in the comments below. But have a great hand from the World Series of Poker, and one of those common questions, and I even did a video on it, how big of a favorite you'd need to be on the very first hand of a tournament to get all in. Kind of going along those lines, I had an opportunity to play with Phil Ivey, and on the very first hand, he decided to put me to the test. So I registered late for the tournament because I had been up late the previous night playing cash games. I was playing a 5-5 PLO cash game, and I was doing pretty good. I ended up being a $670 winner in that game, and the next day, I slept through my alarm because I was up kind of late. So when I showed up, the blinds were already at 100, 200. And as soon as I sit down, I'm the first person to act. I raise with Queen 10 offsuit. Phil Ivey, who has position on me, asks how many chips I have. I tell him I have a starting stack, and I just registered. A different player at the table asked why I just registered. It came up, and I told him how I was playing cash games last night. And then Phil, who still hasn't acted in the hand yet, this is all pre-flop, turns to me and says, "What cash game were you playing?" And I turn to him and I smile and I say, "Phil, I can't tell you that. That'd be too much information." So he kind of shakes his head and says, "Fucking kids." Kind of mumbles under his breath a little bit. And basically, I decide to just give him all the information. I look up to Phil Ivey. I think he's a badass. He's a killer. He's a shark. So I mean, I wanted the opportunity to get some table banter going. I didn't want him to think I was a douchey little kid that didn't want to talk or anything like that. So I decided to tell him what cash games I was playing, gave him as much history as I could, and then went on to tell him that I'm actually backed by Tom Dwan in tournaments. And I kind of gave him backed by Tom and pointed to my chips as if to say, do you want a little more of Tom's money? Do you want to try to get some of this? Basically calling him out. I'm not gonna lie. He kind of called me out for wanting to be secretive. So I said let's battle. That's what I said in my head. And I know it's kind of seems weird, but I wasn't nervous at all. Even though he had position on me, I know for a fact that if I'm playing well and running okay, that I can beat anybody in the world. And that's the honest truth. In the games I play, I definitely feel capable to make good runs and make money in most games if I'm playing well and I have the right cards. So back to the hand. After I tell Phil this, he kind of smiles and he says like, "Oh, it's Tom's money," and he calls. So he calls 425. And you start with 7,500 chips. You get 3 times your buy-in in World Series tournaments, and this was a $2,500 buy-in. So I have 7,500 chips. I raised 425 with Queen 10 offsuit. Phil Ivey calls after we have that whole conversation. Both the blinds fold. And this is a 4-max tournament. There's only 4 people at the table plus the dealer. So the flop comes ace, queen, 6, rainbow. I decide to check. I decide to use my hand as a bluff catcher and try to see where the hand goes. Because I know if I bet and he calls or if he raises, it's going to be really hard to play. I probably have to fold. So I check, he checks. The turn is a 10, bringing a flush draw. So if he happened to have king jack, which I don't think he has, he makes the straight. And also now there's flush draws, anything like that. So I bet out 625, and he doesn't think that long. I would say somewhere in the range of 15 to 20 seconds. And he raises to 1,500. So at this point, you got to think, if I call this bet, it's not going to be that easy. He's not going to check behind on a lot of rivers. He's going to put you to the test a lot of the time. So my hand's pretty good. I thought about raising it for value there, but really I didn't want to go bust the first hand. If he did flop a set and decided to slow play a little bit, maybe he had some read that he didn't think I had an ace. Something like that. Regardless, if he's bluffing, can also use this as a good spot to have a bluff catcher. So I call his 1,500 bet, and the river is the 8 that brought the flush that the turn brought. So the turn and the river bring the board to be ace, queen, 6, 10, 8. So now there's tons of straights that beat me. There's a flush that beats me. and I have second and third pair. I decide to check, and Phil Ivey bets 3,500 chips. So that would leave me with around 2,500 chips, a third of a starting stack. I think for 45 seconds to a minute, and then tell him I think I have to call. I throw my chips in, and he tells me, "You're good, kid." And I flipped over my queen 10. Some of my friends told me I should have got him to show the hand, but I'm pretty bad at poker, and at live poker, at things like that. Certain times, I mean, I'm just trying to get to showdown. I'm not worried about getting as much information as possible. I mean, if he clearly has what he knows isn't the winning hand, and he's gonna muck, I don't want to make him show it up. I mean, that's just a thing of respect. I do it to casual players, professional players. I mean, I just try not to be a douche in the situation, to be quite frank. I mean, there's nothing worse than firing off a bluff and then having some kid at the table say, "Turn that over, I want to see what you had." And I mean, ultimately, I can see both sides of it. I wouldn't hate you if you did it, but it's just not in my game. So unfortunately, I can't tell you what he had. It might have been like a small pocket pair, something like that. But that was my hand against Phil Ivey. It was a great opportunity to test my skills out, have a little fun. There was some great table banter going on. Phil was very talkative, very funny, very friendly. Had a blast playing with him. We played for around 45 minutes before we got moved tables. So I will probably do a separate video on the rest of the tournament because I want to keep this strictly the hand against Phil Ivey. So I appreciate any comments you guys have, any questions you might have, and I appreciate all the people that give it the thumbs up. Take care, guys. I will talk to you later.